Welcome to Block by Block, where we dive into timely topics at the intersection of crypto, tech, and society. I'm your host, Denelle Dixon, CEO and Executive Director of the Stellar Development Foundation. Join me as I sit down with a different expert each episode for a conversation on how crypto and blockchain are shaping their corner of the world. We'll talk about how we're leveraging this technology to challenge norms and change the status quo, block by block. My guest today is Alex Holmes, Chairman and CEO of MoneyGram International. I've worked closely with Alex for a few years now and have been able to witness firsthand his commitment to leading MoneyGram through digital transformation over the last 2 decades to make sure that the services they offer to millions of people around the world stay relevant as the expectations of consumers change. Alex and I had a chance to sit down with each other while attending a conference, and in this episode, we talked through the major shifts in money transfer thanks to technology, why MoneyGram looked at blockchain to expand their business, and their plans to build more blockchain-based products in the year ahead. And we dispel the myth that crypto is putting MoneyGram out of business. So let's get into the discussion about how we work together to bring our two worlds together to redefine the future of money movement around the world. So without further introduction, I hope you enjoy this special episode and conversation with Alex. And please pardon the conference background noise. Alex, it's so nice to be here with you.
Yeah, that's always great to be with you.
You know what? I was just reflecting on our first conversation. So I started at the SDF in May of 2019. And I think I started talking to you like my second week at the SDF. So it's coming up on 5 years.
Yeah. No, I remember it's been a long journey. It's been a fun one though. And I think one that has ended in a wonderful spot right now. So it's great.
Well, tell us a little bit about your journey. I mean, the fact is, like when I met you guys way back when, it was that you were just starting into the digital piece. Yeah. You had just kind of pushed yourself into being open up to more digital, but you were there before that. So you sort of pushed this.
So, MoneyGram has been globally cash to cash for as long as I can remember. And that was kind of the model. And, probably in the end of the 2000s, it's like 08, 09, we were thinking about, MGO and launching, but non-native, mostly web. And so it just didn't really catch on. It was very difficult to use. Customer registrations were difficult. Of course, you've got, the invention of mobile technology, iPhones coming, these sorts of things. And so as those migrated and progressed, we began to think differently. But we had some partners in markets around the world. This company called Arrow that was out of the UAE and some others that were extensions of banks trying to figure out if their apps could send money. But it was kind of the old, a little bit maybe, too little, too soon kind of thing, right? You didn't have the bandwidth. You didn't have the right technology flows, interfaces. But when I took over CEO in 2016, we'd had all these learnings from the past. And I kind of saw where, the markets were going and talked to the board about it and said, look, I know we've got a lot of things that we're still doing from a legacy cleanup and investments in compliance and all these opportunities, but we have to invest in digital. We have to figure this out. We've got to create a consumer front end platform. And so it was really around kind of 2016, 17. Of course, and Ant Financial came in, took a big look at the company, and we just learned an incredible amount from kind of what they were doing, their views of kind of Alipay, their initial investments in Gcash and Paytm, and sort of their thoughts on how to create a network that was a little bit different from a digital perspective. And so
why did you think you needed to go into digital?
I really felt that the change that was happening from a consumer market was going to affect our business sooner than later. I saw digital competitors coming, but again, similar to us, they were stumbling along and trying to find their way and create the right platform. The early days of Zoom, for example, not the video one for people that don't know that, the money transfer company. X Zoom, right? Not Z Zoom. Yeah. So, and it was like we had this platform and I could see it, but it needed to be better. So we really in earnest after we started with Ant, and when Ant kind of fell away, it was like, no, we have to do this ourselves and figure out a way to just reinvent ourselves, build our platform. And that was where the big investments came in. So it was around 2018 where we expanded from the 3 markets that we were in. We had expanded to 30 plus markets across Europe and a few Asian countries, and then really began to think about, now we have to really change our APIs. We have to change our Rails. We have to change the interfaces. Now you've got a beautiful front end, but beautiful front end doesn't get you very far. And so that sort of set us down the path and of beginning to explore new opportunities and new ideas.
Well, and that's sort of when we came in more aggressively to try to like see what we could do together. And I think that was part of what we call the MoneyGram Access.
Yeah.
And that is like another foray into digital in a different way.
Yeah, no, I remember it was so fun. I don't think you made the trip or you came later, but it was a workshop.
Yeah.
And Jed and David actually showed up, and it was like they had this idea. They were going to take our APIs, and we're like, I don't know how we're going to get on the blockchain. They said, don't worry about it. We're going to create this thing. And they came up with this idea called the Stellar Adapter, and it was going to adapt.
An adapter. It was really
the adapter.
Word.
Yeah. And Jed was like really pushing this thing, and David was sort of at the whiteboard. And I was like, all right, well, if this works, it works. And like, it worked. It was pretty amazing, right? So it took our APIs and converted it so it could like interact and speak to your blockchain, which I think is, wholly unique and, obviously the foundation for kind of where this went, but we kind of then put that on the shelf for a while, right?
Yeah, 2 years. I still called you. I think we still had meetings during that time, but it was 2 years on the shelf.
Yep.
And then June of 2020? Yeah, I think it was 2020.
Yeah, 2020,
brought it back to life.
Yeah, brought it back to life for sure. And, between then, we learned a lot, actually, which was great. So, we'd had a lot of learnings from Ant. We had a lot of learnings from our own direct-to-consumer platforms. And the improvements we made to our own capabilities during that time, I think, were really, really required. Anna and the internal team looking at the point of sales we had around the world and thinking, this isn't going to cut it. Starting to interact with new digital partners that wanted to link to us in the traditional fiat world, saying, look, your APIs just aren't where they need to be, right? This is not what we're kind of used to in, the digital world. And so we had to really rebuild a lot of that. And I think the learnings from our interface with you and from Ant and again, from all these other digital partners really moved us along. And we were seeing tremendous growth in the digital space, both on the receive side and in the front end, more so on the front than the back. But we were starting to see these transactions come in, but it was maybe 10, 15% of transactions at this point. So we'd moved from like 1 to 10. So that was kind of a big deal. But then the pandemic hit, and it was like people were locked down. They couldn't move. They couldn't go anywhere. And then just I think it just shifted everyone's mind to, okay, I'm going to do this. And
the digital
really,
part. Yeah. And so the thing that I find super interesting is that, and I remember like speaking to Anna and to you and to others about the APIs and Alicia and getting those APIs like recharged internally, really changed the opportunity that you guys had to open up the network to all of these wallets, these digital wallets that were out there.
Yeah.
We think about it. I remember in one of our conversations, we talked about it as like, you could be the AWS for these wallets where you open up the whole thing. Right. And that's what you guys did.
Yeah. No, I think the idea that you came back with when we re-engaged was initially, I think we thought about the Stellar Adapter being a little bit more about remittance. And it was like, yeah, okay, I get that. But we just had a bad experience with a different company where we were like, this isn't really quite kind of what we want to do. Because you also had some partners in Asia that were using XLM and trying to do a little bit of what we were seeing with the other guys. And so when I looked at that, it was like, and then you said, no, actually what I want to do is something slightly different, right? So I think I don't know if it was your idea or someone on your team, but I'll give you the credit for it for now. You can distribute it later. But no, but the idea was I think to begin to bridge the two worlds. And, I do give a lot of credit to that because for me, that was a big light bulb moment. And it really said to me, yeah, you know what? Like, I'm annoyed here because I listened to all these blockchain crypto companies saying they're going to like put us out of business and they're going to reinvent, currency and all these things. And then you've got the fiat world sort of pushing back and arguing. And then I suddenly thought, well, what if we just sat nicely in the middle and you can interoperate and move things in between? And it's actually sort of, it's brilliant actually, because at the end of the day, you can go off and compete in the blockchain world and the crypto space, and those companies can come and say they want to do this, that, and the other thing. I'm just trying to help support financial inclusion. I'm trying to help people move money home, right? We're experts in cross-border payments. And if digital technology is moving into the crypto world and that's going to become part of it, then I want to be part of that as well. And so right now, I think the elegant solution that we came up with was to be, the on and off ramps and take that as far as we could. And so that's been amazing.
Well, and I think that so much of it was that blockchain had historically, and I think actually Larry pointed out to me, Larry is the CFO of MoneyGram, pointed out to me that on our own website, there was a point in there which was talking about MoneyGram and how slow MoneyGram was.
Yeah.
I went back and looked at that after the meeting, and I was like, oh, because my view was always that combining these two worlds,
yes,
actually the traditional financial infrastructure, the physical stuff that's so hard to build that you guys have done over years and years and years, is the part that actually helps and supports the blockchain piece.
Yeah.
And there's a symbiotic relationship there for sure. But it wasn't that we were going to disrupt. It was that we were going to work together to create this.
Yeah. You actually came with that complete angle of we're going to work together, right? And that's what's lovely about the SDF is that you guys have that idea of spreading and promoting technology for financial inclusion and bettering the world, not to profit yourself from it directly in that sense. And so the idea from a competitive was to empower your wallets and your network to actually utilize our network and vice versa. And I think that's extremely powerful.
And it's been so fun. We've been on that journey for just over a year.
Yep.
And then...
I know, I can't believe it's been, it feels like forever, by the way.
I know.
Like, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but it seems like it's been going on a lot longer than that.
I know. Well, there was I think it's because, we did build the adapter in 2019.
Yeah, that's true.
So it has been a while that the adapter, which we now don't call an adapter anymore. We call it the MoneyGram Access. So it's built on top of the adapter. It's
always going to be the adapter to me.
Me too. But then now we're at a different part of the journey.
Yes.
Now you guys have launched this really amazing thing.
Yeah. So again, another, I think, brain trust moment, getting together and talking about what we could do. And I think you guys had an idea to sort of challenge us, like, could we think about the way that money moves through the MoneyGram network more like an NFT? And I think that was the example we were using at the time. And actually, what's kind of funny is, a lot of people ask me, like, why does MoneyGram exist, right? And I talk about that, and I always say because you got sovereign nations, banking is built for domestic rails, blah 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 blah. And when you think about MoneyGram, it's like we almost are a blockchain. Like, we're a disruptor in that sense. It's like we're not on a blockchain, but we run our own ledger, we run our own transactions. We actually take money and hold it on behalf of consumers while it waits to get paid out on the other side, which we can instantaneously do. But it's like, what do you have? You have a reference number, and that's representation that you gave me money. It's going over here, and if you want it back, you can have it back. And if you want to give that to the other person, you give it to the other person. And it's very elegant in that sense, and it is in very much, sort of like that concept that we've come up with. And so when we started talking about, NFT or not, and I was like, And then I remember thinking, we could launch our own coin, and then I'm like, maybe not yet. And then this idea came up around, how about a non-custodial wallet? And we just make it as simple as possible. And I think we decided to just for now use USDC as the coin, but it becomes a representation of that money moving through the system. And I think what we launched with our non-custodial wallet is just amazing.
And it's really pretty. The user interface is really nice.
Yeah, well, I credit, Alicia and the product team, but also, of course, Cheesecake Labs and your team for stepping up and really coming up with something cool. It was funny. My son is always on apps, and he's in college, and he's like, does the MoneyGram app have dark mode yet? And I'm like, no. And he's like, if you want to be cool, you got to have dark mode. So I think the wallet is only dark mode, which is like awesome. I was like, this is so cool.
It's really awesome. And to see that, just in the time that we've been working together, so the last 5 years almost, the transformation and bridging that gap between the physical and the digital that you guys have gone through is remarkable under your leadership and with this amazing team that you have. And that transformation took a lot longer because you started earlier, but it's so awesome to see it happen.
Yeah.
And this is the part about that interoperability that we need to all understand, is that working together, we can actually solve these problems very differently. And I am so excited about you guys launching that one.
No, absolutely. No, I thank you very much. And I credit your team for all their leadership and vision. And you guys push us pretty hard on customer experience. You push us really hard on sort of issues that come up along the way. And that's really helped shift. The partnership with UNHCR, that wouldn't, exist without your leadership. And, I'm proud of that relationship as well. But when I draw back and think about what we've built, it's so basic, but also so elegant and so cool. And the use cases now that we can put forward as we get new legislation, as we get more clarity on different laws and different markets, we can do some remarkable things with it as well, and really actually interoperate specifically for money transfers, interoperate between cryptocurrencies. We can get to the point perhaps where we can do our own coin and, custody and do some other things. And those are maybe a little bit down the road, but we're on the right path, I think, to really continue to drive digital transformation, innovation. And the beneficiary of that should be all these migrants around the world that, work so hard to get money back home. And when the money's home, they want to know that it's there. They want to know that it's safe, and that's huge. And if you can give someone, a stable coin or something that represents value without the worry about going to a physical location or it's in a bank account or losing value because the market's fluctuating, I think is really powerful stuff.
One of my favorite things about this is the fact that you now have that relationship through the MGO, through your digital wallet, and through your the online presence, and then also through this wallet. You have that relationship with the consumer that you had before, but it was intermediated with the agent all the time.
Correct.
And this now is like game changing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It is. It's like really sort of releases us to do MoneyGram sort of at scale globally, which is awesome to think about. But at the same time, that agent network, as you pointed out, it becomes so much more valuable too, because now you're saying you're part of the future. And when you think about who our agent partners are in these markets, these are local providers. Sometimes they're local post office, sometimes they're local banks, but a lot of local retailers, a lot of local small mom and pop, they're living in their country. They're employing a lot of people, right? Revenue coming into them, continued operations means a big difference to them between survival and not survival. And so, the more that we can continue to value that network, the more value that they generate for their country. So, and that's really what it's all about. So,
yeah, the physical part is the part that you guys have really, really nailed. The digital part you're going into, and it's amazing to watch it. So thank you so much, Alex, for being here. And thanks so much for the partnership.
Absolutely. Thank you. Really, really appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to Block by Block. Don't forget to subscribe to get notified when new episodes are released. And follow me on Twitter to stay in the loop in between episodes. I'll talk to you next time.